I'm Billy Ray Huzzy, potter from North Carolina, and with the Southern Folk Pottery Collectors Society. And I'd like to have just a few moments of your time to discuss a real important link in our ceramic history, redware, if you will. And the term redware comes directly from the color of the clay, actually. And it's because its counterpart, stoneware, is more gray or oatmeal colored. And this redware was really a very, very important and vital part of everyday existence, if you will, because it was made for food consumption, food use, and preparing and cooking, because the advantage of earthenware, redware, over stoneware is that it will contract and expand with the heat from being used in and on the cook stoves of that day, of that era, from say the 1700s up until the early 1900s, if you will. And stoneware, its counterpart, was made for long-term storage. So anyway, these shapes display a lot of usage, and they were made from an old world procedure of master potter apprentice programs. And the master potter, of course, trained and tutored the apprentice, and then once the apprentice got old enough and advanced enough in their pottery production, they would start their shop, and of course in turn would have them an apprentice as well. But one thing we'll get started with talking about this for just a moment is for many, many years there's been a real hesitation on collecting redware. For the most part, you didn't know what was Old World and what was American. For that matter, you didn't know what was New England, what was Southern. So if you don't know what you're collecting, there was no reason to get into it, because you could make very expensive mistakes. But now with research, documentation, and a lot more pieces to study, we've come to some pretty simple conclusions about distinguishing these groups. And the main thing from distinguishing Old World to American is the weight of the piece. Generally, your Old World will be lighter weight, very lightweight, and sometimes the decoration will be a lot more elaborate. Sometimes there'll be some different colors. You might even see blues used in that. The clay body itself will be a chalky feeling, and if you feel enough Southern or American, you can feel the difference of the clay strength, whereas it over there feels fragile, chalky, short, whereas over here there's a lot more weight to it, mainly because of the mineral changes, obviously. And the colors of the American ware, New England will be a very dark reddish brown. Mid-Atlantic, say Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, Pennsylvania type area, will be just a shade lighter than the northern pieces. You can tell the difference if you have a chance to compare them. The Southerns will be more lighter red-brown. So remember, very dark, it's kind of middle red-dark, and then very, very lighter red-brown. Then you get into dating the periods. Dating is not too hard. Sometimes it's more the shape that will help date, such as this piece right here. This piece, and if you notice the decoration, is not very elaborate. It's very simple, folky, if you will. And this is for the most part Southern, even though in Salem, up around Winston-Salem, Bethabara, Wachovia area, some of the shapes are a lot more extensive decoration, a lot of dramatic tulips, florals, a lot of relief work, a lot of branches and florals, leaf work and things. Where here in Randolph and Alamance County, where this piece is from, it gets to be just a little more folkier looking with different shapes that was mostly the product of the potters themselves, such as the Loy family. This is a Loy piece. And go back to the dating. The earlier pieces will have a footed base, well-defined footed base, sometimes a ribbed collar, or some kind of pronounced collar to jars, pitchers. Handles are very thick, and the Alamance potters had this tradition of multi fingertip impressions at the end of the handles, such as this piece right here is. See how these three right here are at the end? So that is the way to look at that. Okay, if you look at this right here, this piece here has three at the end. So that's one way to look at it there. And also, the early one will will have tapered bases and bulbous shoulders. If you notice, this is old world style, from a tapered base to a bulbous shoulder. And then as the 1800s and later 1800s come, you'll have a straighter, more cylindrical shape, such as this right here, so to speak, because of the space in the keel, and just the shape itself will be more, well, like I say, cylindrical will be the name of the period there. And there's a slight footed base, which represents potter that was associated with the Master Potter Apprentice program. And then you look at these plates right here. These plates have a thing called a double booge. It's called 1-2 booges, and that's what they're called. That represents the early period. And as time went on, and of course they're glazed, unglazed exterior, glazed on the interior for sanitary purposes and for the sake of saving glaze usage. This is a Salem piece, probably around 1800, 1790, 1800, 1810, with an extruded handle as opposed to a pulled handle like this one is. So you can even see the unevenness of it being hand pulled. I'll show you. Whereas this one is extruded, it shows a controlled plunger defined handle, whereas this is pulled by hand. And you see the unevenness of the handle itself. Now go back to the plates for a moment. From the early double booge of the late 1700s, early 1800s, up to the early or late 1800s to early 1900s, the sides become straight. So we've lost the double booge. Here's a very large bowl, which is real unique. These pieces are rare to have large bowls. And look how large that is. And that would have been from making dough or mixing things where you need a large bowl. And you can see here the wear from the everyday usage. I mean, it's just worn slick. The glaze is gone. It's worn just as smooth as it can be. And remember, the exterior is unglazed. Again, there's a slight footed base. Again, from a potter that was trained in that early old world style. Now here's a piece that's very rare, is an alkaline or ash glaze from western North Carolina that has a slight double booge, which defines the period of probably early 1800s. And the reason these are rare is because you couldn't use this, because if you were to heat this, because of the clay temperature being fully matured, as opposed these are low fired, this is high fired. This is like probably 1800 degrees, well below 2000, and this is well above 2000, probably in the 22, 23, 2400 degree range. And with it being fully matured, if you were to reheat this in usage, it would crack and not expand and contract like the benefit of earthenware is. So I hope this little discussion, show and tell if you will, helps you define and helps you collect. And these pieces that you're looking at here are all in this particular sale that we're having at our auction, and we got a catalog that shows these pieces. And if you're interested in any of them or any information, or if you want us to look at any pieces that you might have interest in or questions about, give us a call. We have a website, which is sfpcs@rtmc.net. Or call us at 336-581-4246. Or our web address is southernfolkpotterysociety.com. Thank you for your time, and we look to hear from you. Bye now.